Kyodo News English World。
皆さんこんにちは。こちらは共同通信英文記者のポッドキャストです。英文記者は国内外で起きている出来事について取材してオリジナルの英文記事を発信したり、日本語のニュースを英語に翻訳したりしています。共同通信の英語の記事をテーマに、いろんな国から集まる仲間たちと英語と日本語を交えていろいろディスカッションしていけたらと思っています。今日は3人の記者でお届けします。Hello everyone, my name is Toma. I've been at Kyodo News for about 6 years now. I am a massive bookworm, and today I would like to recommend The Storm We Made by Vanessa Chan. よろしくお願いします。
Hi there everyone, my name is Eduardo Martinez and I've been here at Kyodo News for about 3.5 years now. It's lovely to meet you all.
Hi there everyone, my name is Peter Mashter. I'm a staff writer at Kyodo News and I'm from London. Thank you very much.
So for today's episode, we will be talking about stockpiled rice. Ed, can you read the headline for us, please?
Sure. Japan's cheaper stockpiled rice starts hitting store shelves.
政府の備蓄米の店頭販売が始まったという記事ですね。では最初の2パラをお願いします。
The Japanese government's stockpiled rice, released through direct contracts with retailers, began hitting store shelves last month, with consumers flocking to the cheaper products. Major supermarket operator Itoh Yookado and home appliance company Iris Oyama were the first to start selling the rice at some of their shops, both setting a price tag of 2,160 yen, including tax for a 5kg bag.
ありがとうございます。イトーヨーカ堂とアイリスオーヤマでは、31日に朝から行列ができ、即日完売したという話ですが、いずれも2022年産のお米が扱われ、5キロの袋が税込み2160円で販売されました。So have either of you felt the effects of rising prices of rice?
So I don't normally buy a lot of rice because I live by myself. So I don't do all that much cooking as I did before. But I definitely have noticed not just rice, but overall in like price increases in food products. You notice a lot when you go outside. For example, a meal that a few years ago, like a lunch meal a few years ago, that would have been under 1,000 yen, say 800 or 900. It's very rare to see that these days. I would say I see a lot of them going over that 1,000 yen mark, and I've definitely noticed it. I've definitely noticed an increase.
Peter, you cook a lot. How about you?
Yes, so I remember a few years ago, I used to buy bags of rice for about 2,000 yen for 5 kilograms. But now, as is the case with the averages that show that a bag of rice is costing around 4,000 yen, over 4,000 yen, I too am spending that much to buy a 5-kilogram bag of rice. And it's not just rice, obviously, as Ed said, it's about food across the board costing more money, and noticing that takes up more and more of one's earnings.
So why is the price of rice specifically such a big issue here?
Well, rice is the staple carbohydrate in Japan, right? And if you're a family and you have children, it costs a lot of money to feed them every week.
It's the foundation for just about most Japanese meals.
Yes, which is why it's been such a huge political issue that the cost of rice has been so high. Going back to why stockpiled rice is being released in Japan now is due to changes in government, effectively. So in late May, the then Farm Minister Takueto made some remarks at a supporters event where he joked that he had never had to buy rice because he receives it from supporters. And those comments didn't go over very well with the general public due to the way that the cost of rice has increased, and also perceptions that the policy that he had been enacting to try to bring down the cost of rice, which involved releasing stockpiles of rice in auctions where they were bought largely by farming cooperatives, were not having the desired effect in bringing down the cost of rice quickly enough. So Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba eventually came around to the idea of removing the minister, and he replaced him with Shinjiro Koizumi, who is a young lawmaker who many people know is the son of former Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi, who was Prime Minister from 2001 to 2006. And in coming into the job, Koizumi made the rather bold promise that he would bring down rice by early June to the 2,000 yen level. So it's about half of the amount. The way he's done that is by eschewing these auctions and instead creating something called direct contracts, which he has done with retailers, and that gets the rice directly onto store shelves, which is how we've ended up in a situation now where 2,000 yen rice, well, half the cost of the average, is available through this system. And so the government has been able to say that it did indeed manage to get rice on shelves at 2,000 yen.
Have you actually seen any effects of the stockpiled rice being released, personally?
Personally, no. I would say that I haven't even seen stockpiled rice on store shelves. As the article mentions, the Ito Yokado store in Tokyo's Ota Ward sold out of 500 bags in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe we're just missing out because everyone is already buying it so quickly, right?
And it's also in specific stores, so it's not in every grocery store across the country. If you want cheaper stockpiled rice, you need to go to designated stores to get them.
Yeah. Well, opposition politicians have suggested that this is creating a kind of bifurcated system where you have older rice available at lower prices, but then the rice which people have been buying up to now, which is fresher, is going to continue to be at this high price. So just because cheap rice is available right now, it doesn't mean that the issue itself has been solved. But because there's Tokyo Assembly elections coming in June and the government hasn't come up with many new ways to relieve cost of living issues, this rice policy has been one eye-catching way to change the narrative on that. So one of the things that has been discussed about this stockpiled rice is that it is old, and so the quality is not going to be as good as the rice that people are accustomed to eating. Is that something that you think would stop you from buying the rice, Toma?
I don't think so. Obviously, fresher sounds better, and it probably also does taste better. But in the circumstances, I would be more than happy to buy older rice, especially if it means that I don't have to spend as much money. Because as it is, I'm already really stingy with the amount of rice that I buy and the amount of rice that I eat. And if it means that I can go back to last year or even 2 years ago, then I'd be more than happy.
I think, I can't speak for everybody in the world, but I think in the UK, people are not so bothered by when rice was harvested. That's not like a cultural consideration in the same way. And I like to cook with risotto rice, although it's quite expensive to do so. And I noticed that the bags of risotto rice that I tend to buy are all harvested in 2020, 2021.
Really?
Yeah. So I think it's partly to do with water retention when it comes to Japanese rice. But this idea that older rice is going to be much worse, I think is quite foreign to me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it before, but when I started hearing that there's the stockpiled rices from 2022, it did make me a bit confused, as in, people are calling it old, and I hadn't really considered what old meant when it came to rice. Even as someone who was born and raised in Japan. So what factors can be cited for causing the price hikes?
Well, I think there's a number of factors involved in why rice is at the price that it is now. In the first instance, there was in August last year a rush to buy rice among the general public after an earthquake which the government warned could be a precursor to the Nankai Trough earthquake, which is expected to be a seriously destructive earthquake occurring.
Yeah, so that was in August.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rice was bought up and disappeared from shelves at that time. So it was a first indication that there might be a supply issue if stockpiles of rice are low. And then there was also a poor harvest last year due to unseasonably hot weather, which is an issue which is likely to continue if climate change is going to continue in the way that it is. And then there's also the suggestion that increased demand from foreign tourists coming to Japan means that there's less rice available to meet that demand.
I've certainly noticed, for example, like I was saying, when it comes to eating out, getting extra refills of rice before, which used to be free, now in a lot of places they are charged. That goes for other sort of like grain based foods, like say for noodles as well. But yeah, it's very, very visible, a very tangible increase in price.
And there are concerns that if the price continues to stay high, then people might just eat less rice and turn to other carbohydrate products like bread and noodles.
Well, as Tomo was mentioning earlier, I think a lot of people have grown to become more stingy and well, simply just being more conscious about how much they're spending, whereas that wasn't such a major issue before. These days, I'm much more conscious about how much I'm spending every day. Even though I don't cook much at home, the amount it would cost for me to go out and buy groceries and then cook for myself every day kind of equates to the same amount that I'm spending eating out. So there isn't much of a difference then.
Well, as you said, Ed, with there being no difference really right now, cooking at home versus really eating out and feeling the price hikes for both. As I said, I'm really stingy, so I'll probably be waiting a little bit longer to see if I feel any effects of the release of the stockpiled rice. ではそろそろ終わりの時間が来ました。共同通信では共同ニュースプラスというサイトで日本や世界で起きた出来事について英語のニュースを発信しています。今日ご紹介した記事も掲載されていますので、ぜひチェックしてみてください。それでは皆さん、
See you next time!